And joining us now with analysis on the Iran war is Dr. Dan Diker. He's president of the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. Thanks for joining us this morning, Dan. What is the sentiment on the ground in Israel right now?
Good to see you, Kerry, from Jerusalem, Israel's eternal capital. The sentiment in Israel is one of resilience, determination, and focus to back Prime Minister Netanyahu and the great Israel Defense Forces together with our extraordinary ally, the United States, in ending the 47-year rule of the world's most dangerous regime seeking the world's most dangerous weapons. And I think that Israelis are very resilient. We've been absorbing scores of missiles guided by laser from Tehran and rockets from Iran's Hezbollah proxy from Lebanon. But the public altogether is absolutely supportive of the prime minister and the Israel Defense Forces in what is, this is the Normandy beach of our time. We are fighting the Nazi regime of our time. It is really a great credit to President Trump. I think the world owes him a great debt of gratitude for the type of strategic clarity the president has in working with Prime Minister Netanyahu in ending this horrific regime that has taken the lives of 50,000 of its own people, wounded 500,000, and is determined to use nuclear weapons against the United States and against Israel. And as the president said last night, Carrie, as you folks played in the opening of the segment, it was the Iranian regime itself that said that they were within weeks of having a nuclear device.
You were just sharing that you felt that the appointment of Khamenei's son was more of a signal, if you will, that the regime is trying to put on, that they're still strong and able to maintain and outlast this operation against them. Where are we, would you say, at this moment with the joint effort between the U.S. and Israel in removing the regime?
Carrie, thanks for that question. Absolutely. First of all, we are in the West facing jihad. And jihad's mandate is to always assume that they're winning until the last man standing. And that means you may find this difficult to believe, but the Iranian regime still believes that it's winning, even though its air force has been decimated. 50 ships, 50 naval ships have been decimated by the United States military. Most of its senior and mid-level command have been dismantled or killed. But they still believe they're winning because that's jihad. Jihad is a never-ending long war that will continue until the last man is wiped out. And that is why, in that spirit, the regime wanted immediately to name from the Assembly of Experts in Qom the next religious leader. But the United States and Israel are not playing that game. They understand it, and they're going to keep eliminating from the top of the pyramid any future leadership on the IRGC and the religious leadership until everyone is gone. But President Trump, it was serious when he said we're going to finish the job. We're going to go to handle it's the regime that's the problem. It's not only their ballistic missile capabilities, which largely have been wiped out. I mean, more than 80% of the missile launchers have been wiped out. They have fewer than 100 left. They started with 450. That's just an indication of the massive military might of the United States, as well as its partner in Israel. And this has come, after 47 years of mass murder, torture, and subversion. Let's remind the American people that thousands of American servicemen and women, several thousand, have been killed by the Iranian regime since 9/11, which they collaborated on. They cooperated with Al-Qaeda. And I will say this, I don't think it's been said before, but the suspected terror attack that took place in Gracie Mansion by 2 adherents to ISIS, believe me, they are motivated by what they see in the Iranian regime. And this is one of the most important, in addition to the terror attack that took place in Austin, Texas, in which the suspect was bearing an Iranian regime flag and made reference to the Iranian regime. This is the type of incitement to international murder and terror that this regime has played a central part in fomenting, and why they must be and they are in the midst of being dismantled. And it's vitally important that this regime ends its 47-year rule of messianically driven, religiously driven terror against Americans throughout American military bases in the Middle East, against Israel, and against America itself from Latin America.
And Dan, I want to get your view as we pan back a little bit. Trump rebuked the UK in terms of their offer to make bases available, saying it would have been nice to have had them 2 weeks ago when the campaign started. Yet NATO did shoot down now a second missile that crossed into Turkey from Iran. Many of the Gulf countries have neutralized Iranian missiles but have not come in on the offensive. Do you expect any other countries to join Israel and the U.S.?
That's an excellent question. And in fact, it was reported just a few hours ago that President Trump condemned or heavily criticized his Arab Gulf partners for not taking a far more offensive position in this war. And one of the reasons is, Kerry, is that this is jihad, and the whole Arab Muslim establishment, even the more moderate states like Saudi Arabia, are under massive pressure by the Muslim street not to participate directly, specifically because Israel's involved, and they have, fashioned very negative. They, for decades, been very much adversaries of any Jewish sovereign presence in what they consider the Arab Muslim majority Middle East. And President Trump is not having any of it. President Trump's compliment of Israel is that Israel is a country that knows how to defend itself, and he has leveled criticism both on Europe and on his Arab partners in the Middle East, because he says they have to do a lot better at carrying their own weight from a military defense and offense point of view, and they haven't yet stepped up to the plate. That's what he meant when he criticized Prime Minister Starmer. The Brits have been all too hesitant. Well, let's bear in mind, the Iranian regime has attempted to assassinate scores of Brits in the last 2.5 years alone. But having been in the House of Commons myself with members of the Iranian opposition, I've heard officials from the UK say they prefer to maintain diplomatic relations with the Iranian regime as opposed to taking offensive positions against them. Go and figure. But I will say that President Trump has set a new standard for strategic clarity for the Western alliance that will serve as an example for years to come.
Well, we appreciate your insights this morning. Dr. Dan Diker from Jerusalem, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kerry. Good to see you again.